welcome to the gathering. Do you ever have a scripture that pops into your mind and you can't find it and you want to apply it to something and you don't know where it is? Well, fortunately, I have somebody I can go to who knows Greek and Hebrew and can look at all those books. But I had once read the wisdom from above, hopefully more than once, but the scripture, the wisdom from above, is first of all peace-loving and then easily entreated. Well, I didn't know what easily entreated was, so I asked Stan, and he did a big study for me, and I was applying it to someone that I had gotten upset with, and I realized that that isn't how Christ would have treated this person. And so I began to practice treating them as the wisdom from on high, which is, first of all, this is in James chapter 3, verse 14. No, it's not.
It would be verse 17.
It is verse 17. See, it's good to have a Bible scholar around. But the wisdom that comes from above is, first of all, pure, then peace-loving, considerate, submissive, full of mercy, good fruit, impartial and sincere, peacemakers who sow in peace raise a harvest of righteousness. Well, that isn't how I was looking at this person. And I suddenly saw how impoverished I am in my own spirit. And I was really upset. And I don't really like using, I was grieved in my spirit. But I really was. I was hurting because I really saw how poor I am. But it says, blessed are the poor in spirit, for they shall see God. And so I got on the telephone and I was on hold. Don't you just love it when you go through that whole series of prompts and you can't find a real person and all you've got is this computer? Well, I was getting madder and madder. And then this scripture came to me again and I went, okay, when the person gets on the phone, I want to treat them as the Lord would. I don't want to belittle them. I want to be kind to them. And so I'm asking the Lord to use these things, which of course will present trials if you have an impatient nature like I do, especially with the phone prompts. So it worked. I was kind by the time the person got on the phone, and I ended up praying in the Spirit for her as she was trying to find the answer, which normally I get very upset about. But it is incredible when you set your mind on the things above and not on the things below where your life is hidden with Christ. I never know what's going on in someone's life. I can go to a restaurant, and I've been out with groups of Christians and have been appalled at how people treat a waitress. You know what? You don't know what's going on in that woman's life or in that man's life, and it's very embarrassing. I think that we can be very impatient with those who serve us. And so love them and pray for them. Don't be mean to them because your food came out cold. I mean, I've done it. I've been guilty. Number one, guilty. Okay, I'm not pointing a finger at you. They're all pointing back at me. But I want to grow in the grace and in the knowledge of God.
I want to read these verses in James chapter 3. And I want to start with verse 13. Who is wise and understanding among you? Let him show by good conduct that his works are done in the meekness of wisdom. But if you have bitter envy and self-seeking in your hearts, do not boast and lie against the truth. This wisdom does not descend from above, but is earthly, sensual, and demonic. For where envy and self-seeking exist, confusion and every evil thing are there. Here it is. We're in another election year in our country. And I don't mind telling you that I dread election years. We have gotten one bulletin after another in our mailbox. Every last one of them is a politician running for office, and every one of us tells us that every other candidate is a crook, a liar, and just every evil thing you can think of. And as I've read these things, it doesn't matter which candidate I agree with, I'll get another blast from somebody else saying that the candidate I liked best is a crook. And it doesn't matter what party you're in. The other party will faithfully tell you that every candidate out there is lying, is manipulating, is stealing, is in the grasp of special interest groups. Let me read this again in James, because we need wisdom from above in our government, and it's going to take prayer to get it. Because frankly, I haven't seen a statesman yet in the political world who really seems to care about healing the country. It's always the spirit of me first. Well, it says, where envy and self-seeking exist, confusion and every evil thing are there. Come on, is it confusing? Is it confusion? What does it look like among the leaders of this world right now? If God has called you to any kind of leadership, I want to challenge you from these verses that God is calling you to ask Him for the wisdom that is from above. And if you are involved in a prayer group that is praying for your city or your region or your country, I want to challenge you that it's not a question of whether this party or that party wins, because frankly, I don't see a lot of wisdom from above in either party. How about you? Can you find it? If you find it, pray that God will bless it and that God will continue to pour out wisdom from above. We need the wisdom that is from above. And so when James talked about this, JoAnn has shared on a very personal level. Is she moving in the wisdom from above? On the personal level, I have to ask myself, am I? It's real interesting to say, well, they ought to have it. Yeah, I ought to have it. So it always starts right here. But let's ask God for the wisdom that is from above. And that's in verse 17. It says, the wisdom that is from above is first pure, then peaceable, gentle, willing to yield, full of mercy and good fruits, without partiality and without hypocrisy. I think when we look at a verse like that, we can see that wherever there are leaders, these traits are very much needed. And on the national scene or on the state level or even the local level, just within a board of education and the issues that come up in a city, these issues, these heavenly issues are vital. And the question is, any of us who have a call to leadership, are we living out of the wisdom of this world that has kind of a me first, get out of the way, I know what I'm doing attitude about it? And we just think in terms of how good we are at fighting. And we think of that as good leadership. Yeah, so we divide the people we're leading so we win. Divide and conquer. That's our motto. Well, guess what? That's the wisdom of this world that is earthly, sensual, and demonic. And it's no wonder that the world is in such a state of confusion until God raises up some leaders who move in the wisdom from above. And just the same way, JoAnn has had to be willing to say, you know what, I'm wrong in the way I'm handling things. I need to be changed so I'll have the wisdom from above. And I've had to pray that way many times. We need leaders who know how to say, I've been wrong. I need a bigger heart. I need to have a right attitude toward the people that I lead. If we ask for such people, God will raise them up in leadership, and we'll be amazed at the kingdom impact it will make on our region or our state or our nation.